Okay, starting to stream. Let's double check everything, make sure things are going. Got a commercial on that one. Okay, live stream kicking in. We're just gonna sit there and wait, see if I have to do the restream. Come on. Hey, only kind of sort. How you doing? Thank you for showing up. How's it going? Trying to sit there and see if Facebook is going to be connecting. Seems to be hanging on, so I might need to restart it. Okay, there it goes. How's it going, David Martinez? How's it going? Thanks for dropping by, man. Hope you're doing well. Okay, about 23 people probably start getting things going as soon as I get about a little bit more in. As you guys can see, I've done some things to my website, so I actually have this kind of cycling through some of the home pages and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of like putting everything in together into one called the Restream Chat, so it's a little bit easier. So it kind of picks up all the different, you know, the Twitch, the YouTube, and such. So it's makes it a little bit easier for sure. But it's kind of, I'm still kind of new to this, so I'm trying to beg. Hey Anthony, thanks for joining, man. I totally appreciate it. Thank you very much for the kind words. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and get started. My name is Briley. This is going to be episode 6 of my creature exploration, just kind of goofing around, having some fun. Hey David, how's it going, man? Good to see you here. And I think this is another good artist I know, David Martinez. Really good stuff. You guys should check it out. So, yeah, and it files into one section. And thank you, Only, for the kind words. I've been kind of busy, so I'm just going to show some of what I've done on my homepage. If you go to bbriley.com, you can actually see some of my work, even though I need to update it. I have a lot of NDA stuff that's kind of still hanging out. But I've been kind of busy updating my shop a little bit. This is where you can actually pick up a few of my different busts. I do have shipping and tax included in this one, so if you're in the USA, you can just select this one if it's international. But I've just recently started doing t-shirts just for fun. This is one of my busts from the Grimm that I'll be doing, and I just created like a Mario, Dead Mario, and Pikachu I call it, and then Pikachu, just kind of like a little nod and kind of sense of humor. And I also have stickers that are going to be available off of some of my kits that I just got in from Sticker Meal. Pretty cool. So you can actually just go ahead and check it. Right now I'm just doing in white. I'll be doing black, and then we're going to be doing for Grimm, we're going to be doing t-shirts and stuff down the line as we kind of build up. So, but this is just me kind of having a little shop to kind of help get some extra funds to do some more kits and some things that I would like to do to bring my art to, you know, to physical realization. So you can check that out here just in my bbriley.com shop. You can also find my work at ArtStation/Spark. If you want to check it out, I always like you know, building up the followers and friends and all kind of stuff. So definitely check it out. Thank you, Only. I appreciate it, man. Hey, Fictitious, how's it going? And then my Instagram is instagram.com/bbriley_art, and you can actually find some of the different current stuff that I've been doing on the ZBrush streams. I gotta kind of update them and do some shots, and then ZBrush was kind enough to give me some nice swag for doing this. So also Grimm, it's a side business with James Kane and Martin Verhoeven. We're really talented guys. This should be coming live by next week, hopefully. We are crossing our fingers to sit there and get this done. So once you see the site, you know, hopefully you guys will come stop by, because we're going to be doing kits and sales and some of the different things on here. And you could also visit us at instagram.com. We are Grimm. We are slowly building up, so here's some, you know, kits and stuff that we'll be doing along the line. So please visit that and kind of check it out. could always use the support, and I appreciate you guys' time. How's it going, Matu? Appreciate you coming up. Frank, how's it going? So today I'm gonna continue what I've been doing, guys, in the episodes, just fun sculpts, just thinking, talking process and stuff. So please ask me any kind of questions during this stuff to kind of help you out. You know, like I've been saying in the previous episodes, we are just going to be using a scan data head and kind of building up like you would do in traditional effects, but with ZBrush, and then able to dig into, you know, where of course you can't do it on an actor, but go negative into the face and do some different things that we wouldn't normally do in traditional, but to help, you know, the actor's face bring in some of the ideas and creation and stuff. So this is just some of the different things. Of course, from last episode, you know, I brought in the horseshoe crab that I did and kind of created more of an alien Star Trek kind of feel to it. So we'll be doing that. Today I was actually thinking about going along the lines of more, I was watching Strain. I'm kind of like a vampire kind of stuff. I'm just in a monster mood, I guess, and stuff. So so we'll be doing that, I think, today. Kind of using this previous scan head that we've used in a couple episodes, but and I think the reason I like this guy a lot is because he actually feels like Barlos Koloff. I mean, he feels monster-esque. You know, he's got a lot of cool features that we can kind of start playing, especially a lot of the folds down in his face. But I'm going to sit there and try to go, you know, more vampire, a little bit different direction than what I've done. But of course, again, I'm working off this actor's face, so some similarities of those shapes might kind of come in. I definitely need to get some more stuff coming upon. So, oh, and also here's some of the different stickers that came out from Sticker Meal. Pretty cool place. You might want to check it out. But you can find these stuff on the store. Corlolo, I do hard surface, but more in Max, and this is more about ZBrush and stuff. So I'm going to kind of stick with ZBrush. I have used some of the Z tools, but just not as, you know, I'm better in organic. I'm a little bit faster, and for like a quick 2-hour demo to go over stuff, it's just a little difficult for me. So I'm going to keep the head, the skull that I brought in. This is one of my previous skulls that I've done, and you know, I might bring in some different aspects of the skull and peek through, just like I did the last one where I had some of the different items and kit bash to kind of get together to kind of give an idea. So we'll see. But I think I'm just going to start kind of creating off of a character, just kind of taking a look at what I want to do. So again, looking at this head, I kind of went through and took the original scan head, which was asymmetrical. I split it in half, and then I made a symmetrical side of the face, this one being just normal, and I went through and did a ZBrush on it to go up and down the levels, because I actually stuff. In the Pixel Logic, Stefan, I think it was just a regular transparent human skin. I can't remember. I think I was just using the general transparent skin textures that they have on. I just made sure that I held down Alt when I assigned that material, so I kind of kept my ZBrush information. So the strain on that character, even though like the major boss kind of has like the nose and everything else like that, I'm just going to kind of take some of those features, but I'm gonna erase out the nose, because I want my alien, I think, just to, I definitely find, you know, this vampire to be kind of a little bit more towards blank face. I love the features here. I think I'm going to mask out, and I'm going to widen the face a little bit to kind of play with angles like I've done before, but I'm going to, of course, vampires have like very pointy ears, so let's just get some of that pointy ears into this to kind of, you know, start letting, you know the direction that you're kind of going. I think with this, though, I'm going to maybe go a little bit more to where I bring in some lower jaw predator-esque kind of. So what was the vampire from? I think Steve Wang did that. So kind of like split open jaws, the predator kind of stuff, to kind of some of the different things I like in the monsters. And So again, the reason I'm kind of going towards bringing this down low is that I can actually kind of play with the shape really quickly, just kind of getting my feel. I think I might go a little bit thicker neck. I've been going kind of thin necked, more alien. I'm going to bulk up this vampire, just the Blade Trinity, thank you, to start this, and then maybe let's bulk up the row of the brows and detail those out. And I think I'm going to, since these are closed, I think I'm gonna, let's play with this. Go back down just a little bit. I need to see a little bit more detail, but I think I'm gonna raise the eyebrow off the cheeks, or I mean the edge of the space up here, and I'm gonna do some probably detail to separate and lead my eye up around here. So I'm kind of raising the cheekbone up a little bit, flaps, or so I can actually probably maybe make some detail. Let me bring in this. So yeah, Blade 2. Yeah, it was the sun. What do you want to call it? And let's just bring this. And since we're going to probably bring that down and do something with like some kind of jaw. So think of like that little, and also in the video game Half-Life, they had those little head crabs, alien-esque kind of things too, that we can kind of. So we're bringing in a couple different monsters, and it's sort of like if you're bringing in a couple different, you know, animals. Like sometimes I'll take a look at different creatures and stuff, piece them together, and then just kind of once I kind of get something I like going, I'll just put the reference away and then start playing with those forms. So let's widen this at least a little bit, because now that I'm probably going to keep this neck kind of thick and low, not elongate it. But I might want to separate. Yeah, there's so much great design, and you kind of take a look at some of the different creatures and stuff. I mean, again, you can be influenced by certain things. I'm kind of taking some of the things that I like from those, and then I'm gonna try not to like do the exact thing by far, but because like right now I'm kind of doing the nose cavity, which is, again, if I bring in the skull, you know, if I'm pulling into the bridge, it's like if I go in there, if I dig in, you know, I might pick up some of that skull, but I don't think I want to exactly pull into the nose cavity, just kind of set it in and maybe just make this kind of like a little bit of interesting folds of flesh that kind of, and then I can kind of sit there and pull back up. So again, this is, you know, just for fun. I'm just just trying to find my shapes, and if I have success, that's great. If I don't, then I'm not worried about it. And that's one thing where I've had a lot of people ask me about, you know, I guess they're all worried that every single thing you draw, every single thing you do has to be spectacular. It's not. You're going to have tons of characters that don't go anywhere or aren't that successful, and that's part of the game. I mean, it's just like, it takes a long time to come up with something that you really like or is very successful, and it's just rinse and repeat over and over again. So and again, I just want to make this like a little bit more vampire, just for monster feel to it. So let me take out that skull, because eyes are very important, so I'm going to kind of get those set pretty quickly. I kind of want to have the character have some essence or some feel to him, so I can actually start playing with this a little bit more. So, and I have my dogs again, guys, so if I mean, I guess they're always going to be here, but so if they go start freaking out, I apologize, but I have my handy spray bottle just in case. So let's kind of bring those down even more. I actually kind of like this shape. Let's dig in a little bit. I'm going to pull back the mouth. And the cool thing is when you have an item behind it, like if I have these teeth, you know, in the jaw that's from the skull, that I can actually, if I want to sit there and open up this or kind of give more of a jawline, teeth coming out or whatever, I can pay attention to that skull that's underneath, because, you know, right now he's feeling a little bit wide, but I might just want to kind of bring this in and define, and then I know that the jawline's right there, and since I'm just kind of creating, it might be a little bit higher. A lot of tricks that I do too, guys, is if you have an object underneath, it's really kind of difficult sometimes to actually see. Oops, let me go ahead and save. So a lot of times I just like to pick out like a very hard red and just do a color fill object. So that way when I'm working in, I can actually see through the ghost. I mean, even if the transparency, the ghosting kind of helps. You can actually see what is going on underneath there a little bit easier than just the normal static mesh. This looks like I had a previous texture on it, so I'm just going to, or material I should say, so I'm just going to go down flat color, and I'm just going to fill that object on both these just to take out any kind of material object hit. Go back to my Z98 that I have a tendency to love. And again, if I don't want that, if I don't need to see that red, I just turn off the little visual detail. So, so let's bring out from that skull underneath there, the flesh over top of that. Okay, and I'm going to append just a sphere really quickly, and it's just going to eyeball in there. Just for quick reference, Z plugin, not scale master, subtool master, just mirror, just merge. So now I have that in there just a little bit better to define the eye area out. So, and again, as I go up, I can just kind of keep blending out. So, do you guys have any kind of questions? I mean, everybody seems kind of quiet today. So, and everybody hears me okay? So I'm going to turn this eye up and around the corner there. Okay. So I think I want to sharpen this design and probably do those folds. I had that nice little weird corner from the previous nose, and that kind of looks like a flap of skin, so let's just go ahead and carry it. This will go up. And I'm not going to carry that line like I might in other ones up and over. I might just kind of make just look more vicious, and let's turn this up. Alright, from the side, I think I'm going to pull back the ears just a little bit so I can start playing with that jawline. And again, I'm kind of following some of these folds. And then let's emphasize some of, so maybe he's got like a couple different pinchers or whatever that might go into the mouth. So let's say he's doing instead of one predator jaw kind of stuff, he's got like maybe two that will start to, you know, collapse in. Actually, let's make that a little bit longer, so I'm not crowding too much of that detail into the mouth area. And let's just so we got that, and then this one just maybe goes up underneath, hides underneath the fold, and then so we can just kind of make it just look like it's going to be separating from the fat folds in there on the neck. Mop bag technique, yes. So I'm going to start kind of defining even though he has that mouth and these things are resting over top, the two should be good to kind of split open. He still can have a mouth underneath, so maybe it's just the fact that it's just helping, like pinchers that can kind of snap out. So whenever you're kind of creating something, just have some fun with it, make up some of, you know, character story, whatever you think that the character is going to be, or how he'd eat, or you know, a lot of times you can create something pretty quickly with that. So I think I'm gonna even though I said I'm not going to do the nose cavity, I'm going to pretend like that is still kind of coming up underneath. And if I bring the skull underneath there back out, then I can actually still use that. Okay, let's define the eye. And because pretty much vampires have a lot of human elements. Their ear is very pointy. They have a lot of teeth. Just extending. So I'm not too sure what else we would kind of define. It's like most vampires are just like, you know, teeth and a few things that they define their character. Let me see, I'm going to kind of probably, it's almost looking like merman in kind of a way. I don't think I want to go ocean like I did with the hermit crab, so I'm going to pull that back in, or maybe fatten up that earlobe using inflat, and keep to basic brushes. A lot of people ask a lot of times what kind of brushes I'm using, and if in case you haven't seen the previous episodes, I'll go over it again. I just pretty much use standard move, trim dynamic to flatten out a lot of stuff, help out with the hard surface areas, pinch, clay, inflat, and then dam standard to kind of get in some of those pinched details. So let me drop this down just a little bit more. So let's say I want to bring out some teeth. I'm going to pull that back a little bit, start to just kind of scrub in there to open that up. And I could probably pull, let's sharpen that jaw here, make those a little bit sharper with fingers. And let's define this upper lip a little bit more. So now that I have that kind of going, oops, actually I didn't hit flat. Let's kind of bring in a little snarl. Okay. So I'm going to switch to the jawline here, and I have no symmetry on it right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and recenter it, and I'm going to bring this down and rotate. I might kind of get it a little bit more set to where it would sit. It's going to look kind of funny right now, so let's bring it out. I don't want to have all the teeth showing, I just want to bring in a few. Okay, so make sure your symmetry is back on. Move tool, and then I'm just going to kind of play with this. This has also been changed. The teeth are kind of a little bit far apart, so I'm going to grab a few of those, and then so if I take a look, let's go ahead and just fatten these up to make them a little bit more to where they're thicker, less separated. Of course, these are your front four, and then you have your incisors. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab these two, and let's go ahead and just rotate these out, and then so by doing that, that kind of gives it more of an orc feel. So because I'm going to the bottom teeth instead of the upper teeth. So we could always just hold on to that for a moment. But since I was kicking out his jaw towards the bottom, it's going to probably be a little bit more difficult for me to show the upper teeth. But if we go back to the upper portion of the skull, let's go ahead and turn on the transparency. And again, if I'm having trouble seeing a little bit, I can just turn that color on. As you see, it looks like it pops a little bit more. So, and I'm going to adjust the skull a little bit. Might actually bring this out. And okay. So this right here, my mouth portion down here, I have to jump quite a bit. So either I can just take this skull or pull off the teeth and not even use that skull, or if I want to sit there and just kind of have the portions together, I could just elongate this skull down until it kind of fits where I'm wanting it. So it's better to just do it solo. And then I would use these as the incisors as they are, and then use N flat to kind of thicken these up a little bit again. Let's see where I'm getting kind of closer. So it's kind of in the corner of the mouth. So let's just kind of deal with that in a second. So you can kind of just, just like on that, when I brought in that hermit crab on the, horseshoe crab I should say, on the previous episode, just having different elements in, you can kind of turn them on and off, see if they're working or not, and just kind of give yourself just some idea of how they're going to work. So there, right, with the two pieces together, I might actually want to just sit there and hold back this bottom teeth just a little bit, maybe make them a little bit sharper, and hell, just make everything sharp. Make it a little bit more evil, just because sharp things are evil, guys, in case you didn't know. And let's go to the upper skull, do the same thing where we sharpen up some of those. And I don't necessarily have to I don't have to, stick with this one if I just want to kind of keep playing with it, and, maybe make that's not even, part of the character. It's there if I need it. I can turn it on and off and just keep trying to figure out what I like. So let's define this jaw section right here, like how low do I want that to hang. Maybe bring this down just a little bit further and strengthen that up. So is there any kind of questions? You guys have gone seriously quiet. All by my lonesome. I'm by myself. Yay. Straighten this up a little. Petitious, or face, I should just say. The Z98, I grabbed it online a long time ago. If you go to the, pixellogic.com, you can actually find within the material library, they have a lot of cool stuff. And so you can kind of just check out a lot of the different materials. This one I like just because it's sort of got a nice little greenish, feel to it. So I actually have a tendency to just, really like that detail of that material. But you could always just go ahead and change this material. Hey Rye, how's it going? Oh, I was saying, yeah, just basically I have the skull in there just either to sit there and possibly pull it in. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to pull it in. I was kind of doing some stuff with the teeth, but I'm just playing with the forms and might pull it into the project. I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, good to hear the three. I appreciate it. Yeah, so it's just I'm just playing. I'm just having some fun and just trying to figure out what I like. I was thinking, like I said, let's define. I need to go up a little bit higher in forms. Defining out just maybe this is just a little bit like a teeth or. And this is where I would use the dynamic to kind of sharpen up some of those little areas. Try to look for some hard surface parts to bring out, like these are like the little teeth. And a lot of times if you're not able to get some of those as sharp as you want, I mean, again, I'm not going to go in and ZBrush and reproject for this one. I'm just kind of, I'm not going that level of detail. But if you're having trouble getting due to the detail of this breaking down on you, then what you could do is just, again, just append just a small little portion, shrink that sucker down, so let's say if I want to make a really sharp teeth or tooth, whatever, you can just kind of bring in a separate object itself, or you could even take one of the teeth that I have from the skull, and you can do a lot of different things, but it just takes a second to pop in a different element to test. Do I want this a little bit sharp? Just going up, and then I can just use, if it's solo, if you just need to quickly sharpen this thing up. Teeth kind of have look like a couple detailed scratch lines or whatever, because they've been kind of utilized to chew tons of different things over and over again, so you have wear. Just that's it. That's all the detail you need to do. And then I can just bring this down a little bit. And let's just kind of, so let's say if I want that to be tooth here, subtool master, mirror, say okay, I got the two there. I'm just going to make a duplicate and then make sure symmetry's on. Okay, and let's make this, since this is a little bit bigger jaw, I guess, then we have that. So once I have a few of those in there, let's just go ahead and just merge those down. So then I can come back to here and say, okay, well, if those are going to be the tooth, like a jaw, let me go ahead and define. Let's go up a little bit more. And I'm just kind of creating where they would intersect with that jaw and how they sit. So now I can kind of, let's create some folds of the skin like it's underneath. We kind of then might see the separation from there. So having different subtools really quickly, don't be precise, guys, just get them in there, because right now I'm just brainstorming. Right now I'm just playing. And that's, you know, if you're all worried about it all the time about what this is going to be and how it's going to look, then you know, if you don't explore, you'll never find. Pretend you're Christopher Columbus, man. Just, you know, just go on a boat and start looking. How's it going, Pranab? Had a question. When I make a bandage like stuff in ZBrush with the curve mode out, I try to make the size bigger. The coiled strap flips and distorts itself anyway. I haven't really used that technique, so I really can't help you with that one. I kind of push and pull a lot of stuff. I would probably look on to the Pixelogic and just try to search up from there, or if you can contact Paul Gabry or those guys there, they'll be able to maybe even do a demo if they don't have it yet to help out other people. I wouldn't want to go down that line of just, you know, I've used it before, but not to anywhere where I'm solid enough to sit there and give the correct technique. And the cool thing about ZBrush is it gives you so much possibilities that you can kind of do 15 different things for the same thing. So when we edge extrude in Z Modeler, kind of different. Yeah, it's using a different algorithm. So I've seen some people where they use edge extrude or even to the crease. They'll go up, you know, a couple levels and then just turn off the smooth, turn off the smooth, go up a couple of levels, and then turn on the smooth, and then smooth a couple levels past that to kind of give that little effect. But I mean, I personally, when I do hard surface and I'm in max, and I have a tendency to do 45-degree angles on my edges, so it kind of gives you know, some interest to catch the light for games and stuff like that. It's very important. So okay, let's define out this cheek area. Even though I put the cheek area up higher, I'm going to probably bring in some, since I have that little jawline come on, I'm going to use some of this to kind of do some stretch lines, just like I would like in skin's very much like fabric. I mean, it's our fabric. So kind of push and pull some of those lines down, and to go under, you know, to over top of the hard jaw bone, whatever that's coming down there that we can use. So let's see. I'm almost kind of starting to, let's pick up some of this neck down here. Use an in-flat brush to kind of thicken, and I'm going to use the move brush to kind of set back in. So it's almost kind of like he's strained. And seeing some of the neck muscles. And again, to give some visual interest to like what's happening, even though I have a lot of interest kind of happening up here, I still want to bring some details down to the bottom of the, underneath of the jaw, to kind of really define it. I'm gonna I have the angle kind of going from here a lot. I kind of want to sit there and balance that out, so either I can kind of just, and it's where the ear is. I think the ear might be a little bit too big. That is giving me some of this, and I'm seeing too much of this jawline to where I probably just want to go down a couple of levels, and I just want to reduce that just a little bit. Maybe still separate. Okay. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. The Mike's asking what printer did I use for the ones for the ownage. I'm not too sure what printer they kind of used. To be quite honest, I know it's a very expensive one. Those are the ones that they did for me. I have 4 of those, but I also have a Form 2 here that has been doing wonderful, to be quite honest. So I don't like how that kind of is going to, so I'm going to flatten this nose out. I have a lot of incave faces that I've done, so I think I'm going to just flesh this out a little bit more and bring this out to where there's just like a flap. And let's make this weight of that skin a little bit heavier around the mouth to kind of collapse that in, you know, the area. So I almost want to kind of pinch so let's go up. So instead of having this come straight down, I'm going to pinch some of this detail underneath and then just bring, I think, that jawline, yeah, that works a little bit better, to carry your eye up to where I want, because it was kind of getting bunched. So that feels, then that way I can kind of draw this, and I'm going to probably pop out this lower lip. Not like he's pouting, but give some detail. Because again, I have a lot of this blade to split jaw, head crab kind of thing going into it. It's just leading your eye in. I mean, and honestly, it's like I could even make this probably a little bit I think, let's go back to the eyes. I don't like how, when I pull this back, it kind of looks more towards that merman, but I think I want to kind of make the eyes just a little bit smaller, which will help the balance. Let me go ahead and, on this skull, that's kind of popping through, I'm going to pull the, he's got a little bit longer cavity for the eye. As you see these, like, on his skull, I mean, it's kind of evil looking, and I do like these. So maybe I just might pop them through real quick and actually see where they might be. So it's kind of sharp, because I'm doing, oops, let's turn on Symmetry. Kind of like a vampire, just having some fun with it, but I'm getting different elements. So he could be a vampire, demon, whatever. I mean, he could be an orc, demon, vampire. I mean, your imagination, you can just intermix a whole bunch of stuff, and as you're intermixing, you kind of create. And then sometimes where you have the happy accident. So let's bring, so I mean, who knows what you get? I mean, just kind of have fun sculpting. So, and the biggest thing, to be honest, you know, guys, that I find is, like, as long as I learn something, I don't care if it becomes a success or not, you know, because more likely than not, it's probably not going to be, but as long as I learn something, I could always carry that with it. So, okay, so I got that. I'm going to, this right here just makes him kind of look a little bit more pouty, like questiony. You know, so if you walk down an alley and you see this guy, he's like, is he going to eat me? Is he not? I don't know. We want to make sure that when you see this character, you know he's going to eat you. So he's going to kill you right off the bat. So let's go ahead and just make that brow just a little bit more. And you can see by dropping it down, it changes. Because, again, this is how we tell expression, you know. And I think, let me go ahead and use the inflat to kind of bump up those details. Okay. Now I've got to be careful. I've got a lot of noise, interest, folds, things kind of flapping around in there, so I need to kind of make sure I define either the shape or just kind of pull back a few things that I'm not kind of liking. So if I pull that back, so there's like a layer, so it's sort of like I have the upper eyelid on the bottom of the eyelid here, and then I have a cheekbone a little bit higher section. That might kind of help me define that a little bit to separate. And of course, once I get into color, you know, that's going to really help the shapes. So let me go ahead and just maybe pull in a little bit of this little section here, smooth it down a little bit. And then I'll just separate, say like this is the folds from the nose. And I'll fatten and smooth out that area. This shape right here and then go straight is kind of bothering me, so either I'm going to pull that in, one of them in, to kind of help with some of that flow of that shape, because it was kind of battling against, wasn't making sense to me. So Steph Sculpts, yeah, that's all I look for, happy accidents. I don't expect anything, and if I get it, awesome. So, all right, so let's kind of define the brow section up, like how I want it to go. I do like the fact that I have a lot of these ridges across the brow from the skin, but I think I want to kind of pull them up a little bit higher, just because they're getting bunched. Okay, and then that also helps kind of pull that brow up a little bit. Let's go to the side of the eye here, bring this down, and make sure you, when you're looking on your character, you're just kind of twisting it around, looking at different angles, see what kind of works. I'm not too sure I think I want the ear to combine into this little section here. Yeah, kind of like, so there's no, it's kind of coming up, it's connecting to the back. And then if I want to do anything here, I can, you know, separate that in that section. Okay. It's looking a little bit better. Again, the eyes are just a little bit too big for me, so let's reduce the thickness of that upper eyelid, and let's bury that in a little bit more. And then now I kind of have some weird, oops. Okay. And again, I have some of those sharp points coming up, so I can actually probably see if I want to do that as we go up. I think I'm going to still kind of pull those up a little bit further. And let's bring them in. Let's do the transparency. So my skull is back there on this one. I mean, I definitely don't want to pull all the way back to that natural skull, but because I'm going to lose a lot of some of that form. But I think I might want to kind of pull in this section of the eyes just a little bit, and see how that's looking. Did you sculpt the skull into the head, or did you make the head after the skull? Ian, I actually had that skull. A while ago, I took Chris Costas like just a sculpting class, and he was showing how you could use basic geometric forms and just kind of how to create the skull. So that was just an old skull. So I just brought that in just for, you know, it's part of my anatomy brush. I have like a brush that's just all my anatomy that I've done, and so I was just pulling in just to show you guys that to carry with the kit bashing kind of feel, because some people have asked me about that, and I have a tendency to just toss stuff together looking for the shapes. That's just how I personally like to work, and so I just wanted to continue that thought process for you guys to actually see it. So it's there, and you know, even though I'm working off a scan data head, doesn't mean that if I play with it, you know, to go back underneath. So hey, Ben Vakarsia just joined us. Good to see you. Really good artist from India. You guys should check out his work as well. So I'll try to, if I come across seeing any friends or people I know or respect, I'll try to mention it. And of course, you guys, that's part of like networking is part of the game as well, guys. So you need to kind of make sure that you are talking and getting to know other artists. I mean, I'm coming up in, well, like in a week, I'm coming up in 5 years doing freelance and other kind of stuff, and it's part of my connections as well as, you know, what I do that allows me to survive. So, and you also get inspired by other artists when you meet them. So that's why I love, like, if you guys can make it to the ZBrush Summit at the end of this month, I suggest you take the time, and because there's a lot of phenomenal artists that you'll meet. Okay, so where am I at? Okay, I got 10 more minutes of sculpting. I'm not doing too bad. Let's see, in the forms, so I'm going to go up in the higher levels. I have most of skin texture still kind of working. I'm not quite liking that little dip. So again, if I want to reduce that, just go down a couple of layers and just blend that out. Okay, and that way you can still sort of keep some of it in the higher levels if you need it. So more than welcome, then. So that way it kind of doesn't reduce everything that I want from it, but just enough to kind of help. And if it's still not much, then you can, on the top layer, you can kind of wipe it out. Okay, so I think I want to do, let's just give him some general veins. Seems like a vampire would have the general spindly veins coming out. Okay, so I have that skull underneath. Let me go ahead and just sit there and see if I'm going to use it or not. I think I might. It kind of helps him look a little bit more impressive. Let me fix these eyes first. I want to kind of fix a few things I saw before I go to that. Okay. And I have a tendency, guys, to just do a lot of sweeping, spindly noise. I mean, you could always kind of get it into use an alpha brush or whatever, and you can bring in some of those details, but I like to, I guess, play around with, I like to make those gestures. I guess, I don't know. They make me happy to do those gestures. Okay, so let's get a little bit more weight on the bottom section of the eye, and then let's use the trim dynamic brush to kind of give a little bit more hard surface, flat areas, so that I can kind of wipe it out. And I'm gonna probably open up this eye even more to have a longer section into the corner. And you notice I just made a subtle little point to make it a little bit sharp. So that's where you can kind of pick up in your design if you want. If I just want to sit there and, you know, make a couple little sharp points, that's just enough. I mean, you don't have to over exaggerate, but since I have a few things pointing out, just adding a little bit just will kind of go, okay, I start to see that subtlety throughout the piece, and it starts to work. So, okay, so okay, I'm just going to make this kind of like little folds. I'm kind of controlling. I'm not going to depend on a alpha to do it. I want to kind of control it, and I'm going to kind of bring that thought process of some of these sharp things down to the lip. Okay, and let's kind of make this a little bit sharper. Okay, so I think I might kind of do to where instead of having the general tip from the skull that's coming up underneath it, I think I'm just going to kind of split that nose even further. So it's just some interesting shapes. Yeah, eyelids are very important and stuff. You need to kind of just take a look, and again, it's very much that's the expression of your character. So if I'm not liking, like right there, I'm just using a pinch to kind of pull that down. That kind of helps tighten up the ending part to it. You know, I'm going to take out some of the over skin detail that I don't want from that. But you know, if you don't finish out a few of those little details, then it kind of doesn't really read. So you need to take the time to kind of give that expression to the eye. Take a second to, you know, push it up, push it down, you know, to see what's going to work for you for that eye. Because again, if I, just like I was playing with that brow, if I turn the eyes up, that changes his expression and his character. If I even continue this even further, it becomes a little bit more alien, vicious, or whatever. Or if I play, you know, with the brow heavier here, all those things that kind of will change the character. But I mean, don't be afraid to not try it. Just be aware that's, and it doesn't take. I mean, just study the eyelid a little bit more. You know, everything, all the muscle structure, you can kind of. I would always say study, but just give you an idea. Okay, so I have this piece of the skull that I was kind of playing with, and I have it here as well. So I think I might keep some of that, but I'm going to probably go back to the skull, and I'm going to maybe bring this out just a little bit more. Okay, and this is sort of where, like I was saying, like the strain, they kind of I'm going to bring in some of the different features from it. And of course, when I turn the object on to the selected one, the lighter color, you can actually see quite a bit from what that's going to look. So, and if I start doing that too much, it becomes kind of over-exaggerated. It kind of takes away from a lot of the flow and the design that I was doing. So I might want to just kind of pull this back and just make it just a little subtle hit. Or just turn this just a little bit more, just to play with it, so it starts to touch into some of the silhouette hits that you know, comes down here. I have, here's the ear, and then it picks up there again, and so certain things. So Peach Day, networking is key. It's just you network everywhere. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that are just more comfortable with talking to other people. The cool thing about art is that there's, you know, when you're talking to somebody who loves art, it makes the conversation a little bit easier because they also enjoy that. You know what I mean? So that's just the base thing that you you connect with, and that way you just makes it a little bit easier to talk. You know what I mean? Rather than just walking up to a stranger, you have no clue what they like, what their interests are, and so on. So online you have the Pixelogic channel. I mean, that's a great one where you can just kind of go and you see somebody you like, just drop them a line. Most artists, you know, I would say are pretty open to just, you know, appreciating somebody else that likes their work, and most people will sit there and stop and talk to you. But other people that are just in those channels, drop them a line. say, hey, ask them a question. That's how you start. Because you guys see right here, I have asymmetry on to the skull, so that's why I'm kind of getting it kind of messed up. Let me go ahead and save this tool really quickly. Again, I've gotten to a certain part, and I'm about to kind of probably kick into Polypainting here, try to see what I want. So I'm going to raise this up just a little bit. I wasn't quite liking this, and of course if I go to perspective, sometimes I have problems, like my perspective kind of gets off even if I align to the object. Just doesn't feel right. So I've been working on orthographic, pretty much doing it. Thank you, Engine. I appreciate it. Hey, Marlone. Marlone is another awesome artist from ZBrush Summit that I met last year. Kicked my butt in the summit, so you should check out his work. He's actually going back to the summit here pretty soon to compete again, to try again to take the prize home, I should say, because the summit brings in some serious talent, so all across the world, so it's very competitive, as he would, I'm sure, agree with. So so on this one, I'm just gonna do dynamic subdivision, so you can actually see how, this was asymmetrical. That's how I sculpted it. You can go down to the lowest level. I'm going to be careful because this might kind of cause some of the stream to kind of screw up. But I'm going to mask out the side that I want to keep, and then I'm just going to go down and hit deformation, and I'm just going to do smart and resim, and come back up. And I'm looking up here in the corner, guys. It's going to analyze the mesh. Yeah, it's taking a long time. And I'm probably having, the stream is probably getting hit right now because my computer is going to start taxing. So I'm only at the second level, and it's doing this already. And it's not going to be, it's goofing up. So another thing you can do is if I want to take this object, I'm going to make a duplicate. I always make a duplicate. I'm just going to go back to solo again here, and I'm just going to hold down Control Shift, and I'm going to just select the half I want, okay? And I'm just going to, let me go down a couple of layers, and I'm going to hold Control Shift X, and I'm just going to increase just a little bit to build up on the layers. So if you see right there, if I hit Control Shift S, will reduce by poly. Control Shift X will increase by poly, okay? So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get some of the teeth to make sure it's an object. Go up to the highest level, and I'm just going to go ahead and just say, first I should say polygroup. And I'm just going to group visible. So what that's going to do is whatever's in the scene, it's going to take a snapshot, and then I'm going to go ahead and then say ungroup split. So I'm going to have the one side of the head that I want. So I'm just going to turn that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and just say geometry, modify topology, and say mirror and weld. Okay, delete lower, mirror and weld. Okay, so this is where it kind of, let's see, let's go home. Just pull back. Crap. I forgot how to fix this one. This should be, yeah, I'm not too sure local symmetry. There we go. it does it sometimes, like where I have trouble kind of figuring, like there's an invisible line here. So there I go. I just had to find it. And then now that I have the solid one, there we go. It's just touchy a few things, and of course it's user error on my part. I can't quite remember what is going on. Maybe it might be the local symmetry, and if that is it, thank you guys. I've learned something today. So now that I have that, let me go back to, and again I moved off of that. That's my other part of my skull I don't want. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that section. And so go to here. Okay, and I'm just going to move that back to where I had it. So now it's even on both sides, and I can kind of start to play. Let's bring that down just a little bit more. And then that's one way to go about fixing that. Now if you notice right here, I have like a double tip. I have some of this missing right here. That was just me kind of going pretty quickly on that, not cleaning it up. So I'm going to play with this just a little bit more, and then I could just do geometry, dynamesh. I'm just going to say this real quick, guys, just in case I have a crash. And let me go ahead and dynamesh. I like to turn off project. I turn off blur. I didn't dynamesh yet. And then try out the different levels. 2048 dynamesh. Okay, and that's good enough for this one. And then I can't go down on levels anymore, but then I can just quickly do a few details, sharpen that up, and then I'll just go back later and do a ZBrush, kind of go back down to levels if I really want to play with this. Right now this is 5 million. Doesn't need to be that much actually, but it's fine. I can deal with that. Okay, so you can just do a couple things on swipes on the teeth, a couple hard surface hits, kind of makes the teeth look a little bit more aged. Okay, and then let's bring up the teeth a little bit forward, and that back a little bit more. All right. Is there any questions, guys? All right. So I have a few material things to separate. I have bone. I have the eyes, and I have teeth, whatever is very close to the bone, and I have a few of my extra details. I'm going to finish this up to start getting into Polypaint. I think the color, I'm probably going to go towards more purple for this guy. I've kind of done with the blue-red. Kind of feels like he'll be more towards the cold purple, maybe with a little bit of pink into him. I mean, it's just, once you get into the colors, just start trying to think of when you're creating the creature, what you'll do. I'm going to sharpen up these just a little bit more, maybe make them a little bit fatter, just to help emphasize them a little bit. And I think I'm seeing too much like he's starting to smile, so I'm going to bring these back, and I'm going to bring that mouth in, around, just to hide this, and because I was seeing too much of it. Okay, I was doing some detail for the lips. Again, I was kind of pulling this underneath, So I want to bring a couple of those lines, turn it in. I did not want to have a straight line going across. And then alright. So I have my crab blade 2 inspired strain vampire. Like I said, I'm just kind of going off some of what I remember, trying to find the forms and the actor, and seeing what I get, and just having fun with it. Okay. Let's back in just a little bit. Okay, and I have these little sticking out just a little bit too much for my liking. And so now that I have this up here sort of coming out, I want to do to where it's like, you know, the flesh is ripping apart away from it, or, you know, it's being poked through. So let's go ahead and give that detail just a little bit more love. And again, where I was like saying, just like the skin is being stretched over, you know, just gonna bury in a few to show how the skin's going over top of that muscle, underneath it a little bit. Okay. So. Any questions? Before we go on, okay, I want to bring this neck down just a little bit more. Still keep the shortness on this neck. I'm not finishing out a lot of details to where I just made his neck thicker, so I'm not going to finish out like a chest or anything like that. Okay, good to hear. Yeah, like honestly, guys, if I love questions. Doesn't bother me if you ask a question. If it's not something, I mean, if you ask some great questions, I just, you know, either it's a technique I don't do, or I don't feel comfortable enough to kind of go, yeah, this is how I would go about it, because I haven't done it in a while. That's the thing about ZBrush. It is the most powerful tool I've ever used. And the problem with that is that the fact that there's so much to do. So it's sort of like I don't know it all. I remember my wife's name, my son's name, and my own name, and I'm happy. So you know, and there's just so much techniques, different ways to go about it. It's just insane. Ofar and Jaime and Paul and everybody, all those guys over there, that just do a phenomenal job. Allows us to do kick-ass stuff for sure. Okay, so let's pick up some of those veins again. Yeah, Furio Tedeschi does a phenomenal hard surface organic. I mean, there's guys that's more my area Creo that I don't really pay attention to. I'm more I follow the organic side of things, but what I would probably do is go to you know, the Pixelogic, the ZBrush Central, take everything. No, actually, Engine I don't. This is my ZBrush channel, I should say. I guess Twitch channel. I haven't done one yet. But Creo, excuse me. What I would probably do is just go ask online, ask on within those channels. You know, what are some of the hard surface guys that inspire me? Vitaly Bulgarov is phenomenal. I want to check him out. There's problem is there's just so many guys, and a lot of times I have a tendency to just know the art over top of the artist's name, and I mean, there's guys and women that I've met that are phenomenal artists. That's easier, but then to give you exactly what kind of, there's so much different styles, and organic, hard surface, regular hard surface, jewelry. Thomas Wichlach does a lot of cool jewelry and stuff, hard surface. And actually, you might want to check into the ZBrushLIVE channel as well to actually see if you find some people in there that will actually be able to help you out. I'm sure there's got to be tutorials. And I know they're adding new people to the channel to actually help diversify. I mean, of course, some of them are different parts of the country, of course, so if you don't speak the language, it makes it kind of difficult, but yeah, totally welcome. Sorry I couldn't be more help on that. So, okay. It is about 2:15. I gotta get going and pick Polypainting. Okay. So now I've got this kind of done. I'm gonna probably hold off. Well, since you guys probably haven't seen it, I'm just gonna import an alpha real quick, guys. Just give some skin detail. So if I go into my alphas, I'm just gonna grab my ZBrush, or my elephant skin real quickly, just to blend. And I want to go from the dots to I want to go to the drag rectangle. It's a little bit too high in the intensity, so let's bring that down a little bit. Because what I'm doing is just going to blend just a little bit of some of those areas that I took away. This will definitely help when you're doing like key shot and everything, and to help the light capture some of those little details. I have a lot of this still pretty much from the scan data head, so that's why I'm not too worried about this, and I'm just going to get a little bit of interest here. So, okay. What's the process for getting the sculpt ready for 3D printing? A lot. There's the main thing is you have to sit there and have it watertight. Watertight, so there's no holes in the piece itself at all. And then you want to break it up and make each of those pieces watertight if you have it. There is I think a few people in the channel, and Joseph Drust actually does a breakdown in video. He's phenomenal on knowing all this stuff, and so I'd probably suggest watching his channels on the breakdown of 3D printing, because it's a lot goes into it, but it's when you take the time to learn it, and it's impressive. So okay, I'm gonna go towards like the purples. That's kind of cool, just as a base. So I'm going to start building up. Hey, George. George is another guy that you guys got to check out his work. It's awesome. Thanks for joining again, man. Sorry, where was I? Getting the base skin up, and we're going to build up in layers. And so I want to find a tone that's kind of like a good dark. Like I said, I want to kind of make this guy towards the purples, and I'm going to slowly build up and probably define more of space. So I'm just going to go to color, and I'm going to make sure RGB is on. Okay, the RGB is right now I want for 100. Just because I want to go ahead and just do color and just fill this object solid entirely. And then I'm going to reduce my RGB intensity, and I'm going to start building up some of those purples on the values, like to go. Actually, let's go ahead and real quickly, I'm just going to go to material, make this 100%, go down dark, and I'm going to go to the eyes, make sure I'm clicked on that one, and I'm just going to, let's just give them a black chrome eye section, and I'm just going to go color and then just fill that object. Then I'm going to go back to my ZBrush illustration paint, and then I'm going to go to my bone section, and I'm just picking up. Right now I'm grabbing the materials, and I think I have a nightcap that's sort of like, let's do this one. Oops, I switched over to the bone, and so I'm using the material just to kind of give me some quick separation from the different objects that I have with my piece. So the material in here, the RGB, yeah, I just want color. Okay, so that's weird. Maybe I just have to paint in that color. Okay, I had that red on there and it just was not giving up. So, and then I'm going to go back to my ZBrush, turn off the material and go to RGB, and then that way I can start working and it's already kind of separated. So yeah, Anthony, you need to sculpting hairs. I think I kind of went over top of the FiberMesh real quickly in the first episode or a couple episodes in. I will probably start, I'll go ahead and I'll probably do like a episode to kind of bring that up. There's a lot of cool FiberMesh tutorials and stuff like that, but I definitely need to kind of help you guys out on that. So I'm going to go back over to my material and I'm just going to start using, I have that skin, I can use this one to kind of pocket up, and I'm going to just start bringing up some of the details, the highlights and stuff. By having that dark purple already as a base, I'm able to pull it back in. Sorry, Imperial, I'll have to, like, I mean, this guy, it's like if I saw him for like FiberMesh, like to bring in some hair, hell, maybe I'll try to do it at the end. I'll do it quick if I have enough time. So I'm just going to kind of bring in just a little bit of that color as I'm building up some of the value hits of where I want it to. So it's sort of towards the front. It's sort of where the light will hit, of not really trying to grab. Okay, so I want it to be like on the edge of the eyelid right here. Pick it up. In this little section, my nose bridge, some of my upper lips right here. Let the lips be a little bit dark. On the side of the cheek, stuff. I haven't really used a lot of the auto masking. I mean, one of my friends was talking to me about it the other day. Like, how come I don't use auto masking? You can. I'm just painting, and I'm just, you know, it's not too hard for me to do this, and I'm actually playing around and just finding forms that I want to define. Whereas rather than a computer is kind of making, or you know, like based on the cavity or whatever, and just having it all sweep. You can, guys. It's totally up to you. And I have a tendency to kind of keep away for demos because it takes sometimes a little bit long. I can't remember if like the AO is the one that takes longer, or the cavity one that kind of has a little bit more of a thinking process. So I guess I'm just trying not to risk it. Okay, so now that we got that, let's go over a little bit and just do another section of the light. And this is where I might kind of pull back. This kind of looks like that pink that I was talking about, so maybe I might just kind of bring a little bit of this, and I'll go back to my ZBrush, I mean my Elephant Alpha, because that's going to be a little bit more subtle. But if you can actually see if like it's got some of that skin texture. I just held down Alt to kind of give a little bit of variance to that. Okay. So if I want to blend in the colors a little bit, then this is where I would probably pull this alpha to kind of lighten up some of these sections pretty quickly, and then go back to that alpha 31 to kind of just pull out some of these different areas. So this is sort of what they do with masks, and you know, building up the layers, trying to find those forms. I could always go back and I'm going to separate. I'm probably going to, and I'll try doing the cavity to kind of grab in some of these little areas to darken, just to give it a try, and hopefully it doesn't affect the stream. I mean, I'm on a pretty good connection, but it's also the computer that has to think. Okay, so, and all I'm doing is I'm going up in layers, and if you could see that POC, I'm trying to get in. I'm getting that from that alpha. I'm breaking the skin up. It's giving me a little of that detail that kind of slowly is pulling from the two different well, 3 different colors now that I have on there, and that's kind of sort of what I want. I want to slowly take a look at that, those color blending, and kind of say what area do I want to sit there and wipe out, or to, because right now that looks like he's got kind of like a, we're seeing the dermal and the subdermal skin, you know, the layers and meshing together, and he actually looks kind of sick, sickish kind of. So I'm going to, and if you see right now that bone is really kind of bright yellow now, so I'm gonna have to go back and pull that to reduce that down, because I don't want to sit there and have that shining so much in the face. I'm going to bring in a little bit here, and I'm using the value to kind of separate out that skin and pop certain areas. So I want to kind of bring more of the eye and the cheekbone section a little bit more towards the front, and a little bit more of these face claws or whatever down at the bottom. And I'm going to allow some of the things I've already done to help darken and push back that little section. And then I want to kind of give some area of interest to the ears and like some of the neck. I'll probably keep some of this dark down in here again, because it's, I'm kind of playing around with, I don't have an AO on this right now, guys, but I'm kind of thinking where would the AO be, and you can kind of do that. Okay, in the back of the head, it might just give it a little bit. Now I have those veins I can pull out here in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to my move tool, and I'm just gonna get rid of some of that, because it was kind of driving me nuts. On here, I'm going to grab this color. I'm going to pull back some of this nose bridge. Can actually probably, so I'm grabbing a different color. I have that material from the bone that I used, so it's kind of, now I'm just doing an RGB to reduce some of those details, push it back, because it was getting too vibrant. And so right there, I didn't have I don't have any material on it, so let me go ahead and add that one to this one. Okay, so now I have that, since I forgot to grab, and then just make sure I'm back off material, and I'm going to paint on these. These right here are about like 520,000. That's good enough for Polypaint for the level that I'm doing, so it doesn't have to be super. And when I'm jumping over top, I'm holding an Alt, guys, to sit there and grab the color or grab the object of what I want to jump to. I'm going to bring in a little bit of blood, some color to this one. Just to start bringing in that color. Okay, so let's go back to this. I'm going to go up a little bit more. And I might actually kind of bring in a little bit more either towards the, I have enough pink, maybe not. Yeah, that's kind of working. Because I want to blend in the color that is going to probably be like towards some of these folds. I mean, a lot of my creatures I kind of do those folds, but it's sort of the separation of the outer and inner skin kind of thing. So usually inner skin you think of, it's been ripped open just like your skin would, and that's where the blood and everything would be. So that's probably going to go towards the pink or the red or some of those areas. So and he's feeling just still a little bit too purple for me, so I might kind of just start, let's change some of that. So let's try, and that's the blue glow is actually the material as well. So if I go to like a different, he's still very purple. If I take off some of that, just go to ZBrush too. It's not easy, but thank you very much, Ron. So, and how's it going, Jardel? Appreciate you for showing up. So if we're going to try to do some masking, some people were asking, we're going to go to sort of deformation, go to the masking, and you have mask by feature, mask by AO, mask by cavity. This is where, you know, let me go ahead and save, just to protect myself of, in case we lose it, we could just jump back in really quickly. I'm going to save over top of that file I was in. And let's go ahead and try to sit there and see what mask by ambient occlusion gives me. And this is where it's holding up on me. So do you guys still hear me, or is it starting to kind of like give an issue? Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, Kenny. Not legendary, but the because if it was legendary, I wouldn't have hit the ambient occlusion and shut down the stream here for a little bit. I should have known better. So this is why I kind of have a tendency not to. Let me see if I can hit escape, which it did. Okay, good. So let's try mask by cavity. Okay, and up my intensity. Okay, so I'm intensifying the cavity. It's kind of grabbing all my skin pox and stuff, which is fine. So let's say I'm going to flip that, and let's just bring in like a darker color, and let's just do fill object. So then I kind of have like a little bit of that section. Now if I do mask by cavity again, and on this one, if I want to lighten everything up, so right now it's grabbing, it's masking all the pox, the little, you know, blackhead areas kind of stuff. So then I can say if I want to lighten this thing up over top, then I can, you know, just lighten up by that, in a certain color over top. So now I've kind of brought that up a little bit out of my stuff. It kind of helps. The so let me mask by cavity again. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to bring this up just a little bit more into the gray. And I'm at 44 too, so I'm not getting total. Yeah. Mask by cavity. Okay, that works out a bit better. My PC specs are, I'm running 64 gigabytes of RAM. I can't remember actually all the stuff. I know I have SLA cards, GTX 980 cards. It's been a while since I've built, and I have to take a look at the specs again and kind of redo it. So, but you can play with this, guys, and you can try your own. Let me see, mask by peaks and valleys. Let's see. Not seeing anything. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to, you know, polypainting again, like I have a tendency to kind of do, just to build up, just to get this thing almost done. So I'm going into a little bit more blue, and I'm just lightening up this, and I can get color very quickly. I did use that to kind of bring up a few things. That kind of works, but I want to kind of take control a little bit rather than just, like I said, having the computer choose things for me. Yes, you get some happy accidents, but kind of thinking, you know, where I want the color, how I want the color, and that usually helps me by doing it this way. So, because right now I got those pox in there that I'm not really a fan of. Like I turn it in, and I'm getting a lot of that, and there's no masking on it right there, so that's bugging me. So let's see. So now that I have that, I'm going to probably go into the dark areas, and I'm going to knock back a certain section. Now, this is going to be, you know, towards the skin, the inner skin. So I probably want to go more into the warm type of feel. So, and I'm going to bring up this opacity just a little bit. So that might be, okay, that's a little bit, I'm trying to find the warm range that I like, and I'm just knocking this back. Okay. And so what I'm doing is I'm defining out where I want it to set back into the the face. I want to and help emphasize certain areas of the details that I want. How are we doing on time? 2:35. Oh, okay, we're doing a lot better than I thought. So this way, I'm choosing that these folds up here are going to be popping off this face, and I'm going to blend. And I could always grab that color and bring it back. And again, this stark bone is really kind of, it's too much of a value hit, and sort of like it doesn't feel like it's too fresh, it's too new. So you just bought them at Walmart or something like that. So it's like we gotta, I'll go back to that color here in a second, but it's starting to jump in my view a little bit too much. So let me knock back some of the skin areas in between. I'm going to darken down the lips as well, because I want a darker, strong base to pull from. And I'm going to definitely take this nose cavity and bring that there. And I'll take a look at my specs. You pretty much want some RAM, a really good RAM. I mean, it really helps for your computer to kind of think all across the board. I also have like a solid state drive to open programs pretty quickly, but I think I need to study up on what I need to get to next, because I need to start building my new computer pretty soon. Okay, so I haven't been really, I'm not paying attention to the back of the neck, but I could always bring in some dark color in the back here. I guess he hasn't taken a shower in a little bit, and he's got a lot of dirt into it. This is all ZBrush right now. I'm trying to stick into ZBrush since we're doing a ZBrush demo, and so I'm just trying to show you guys all of what you can do for ZBrush. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pitch out in some of the details. So I'm going to turn off my alphas. I'm going to turn off my box, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pick a color here, and I'm going to go up. Make sure my intensity is kind of low. And I'm just going to kind of start bringing out a few of those folds, like it's been aged a little bit, and winds kind of hit it, just to kind of get a few details. I'm going to bring out this eye section here, and again I could go back in and blend. So right now I'm just trying to feel some of that area, that sharp little eye section here, and of course the rim. And the reason I'm kind of just doing heads, guys, off the scans and stuff like that, it's an easy practice. If I was doing, I know a lot of other people are also doing like weeks of demos on doing full characters and stuff, and it's a lot to take in. So this I just thought would be a little bit easier for everyone to kind of do and just have fun with and start creating and relaxing. You know, getting used to all the techniques but not being overwhelmed by the tech too much. So you're just kind of having fun and creating. Okay, so is there anything that you would recommend that is either really cheap or free? Oh, I'm sorry. I just got an electronic drawing tablet, and I'm looking for a drawing program to use for my PC. There are some, I would say your main one, ZBrush, they do a great job. They have, it's a great price for the program you get. And you also, every single update is free on that. So if you bought this program back, like, you know, when it first came out kind of stuff, it was like $200. And every single year they update, they just give you a free update. It's phenomenal. Every other program is super expensive, and it's definitely ours. So I'd probably just say ZBrush is the main one that you should probably look into getting to play with. Photoshop, and they do a lot of the programs too are actually doing monthly, so you can actually just pay like $20 a month, and you can get all the updates and stuff, and you can just get the program. So they've really made it a lot easier to do it. But it really, honestly, it depends on what kind of field you're going into. Are you going into games, movies, you know, jewelry, whatever? All the different fields, whatever your direction you're going will determine what you really want. But ZBrush is pretty universal across all platforms right now. They do a great job on it. Hence the reason I'm kind of doing this. I'm a big fan of theirs. So, any tips for painting in pupils and irises? I've done a couple, Anthony, in the previous demos I've did. This guy right here, I mean, I'll see if I'm going to make him. I kind of actually like the black eyeball kind of thing to him, but maybe I'll take a quick swipe at it since I seem to be doing okay in time. So I'm picking up some of those highlights. So just remind me again, how long time this stream broadcasting? No worries. I'm going to be probably doing for another. Well, I've only been doing this for about an hour and 45 minutes. So, and I've been trying to keep them to about 2.5 hours max, maybe 2 hours, just to kind of show. And that's why I'm jumping. That's why I stopped sculpting. I was just jumping to the Polypaint. Now, just because I got some of the Polypaint here doesn't mean that I'm done with sculpting. I can always find things and go back. If I'm creating a character for the games, when I sculpt in high poly and I go to low poly, a lot of times I find issues. I had problems in the high poly. I'll go back and fix the high poly, and when I go to texturing, then or UVing, I find a lot of issues with the low poly, and so it's just you're just catching yourself. You know what I mean? You're just trying to find issues and double checking your work always to make sure because you will miss stuff. You get so close to something, guys. It's kind of like you get a haze, and you need to step back and kind of take some time to see it. So plenty of times I've gone back to something I thought I was pretty solid or I was happy with, and started noticing a lot of glaring errors, not errors. So just be aware of that, you know. Okay. So I'm just using this one color to kind of bring out some of those details quickly, just to lay things down. Okay. And then I'm going to pick this warm color, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to define out just like I did with the highlight, and I'm just going to emphasize certain shadows that I want to kind of push back as well. Hey Chappie, welcome. Yeah, you can watch my tutorials. I got about 5 of them. This is my 6th one if you want. No, the ZBrushLIVE channel will have great tutorials. A lot of the people have been working pretty hard to kind of give you guys a lot of different things that you can take a look at, and that's the community is really good. Also, you know, check out ZBrush Central, and Pixelogic will actually Pixelogic.com will have a lot of different things for you to kind of find within their library, as well as, you know, materials that some people ask, brushes, and how to use the program. So they're really great at giving back and trying to make sure that you guys have the resources. So okay, so I'm just kind of getting that detail that I want to kind of on the folds, just like I did with the highlights, guys. I'm just kind of using this to define certain shapes. Now I'm gonna go back here, grab an alpha, and I'm gonna probably add some splotches and details. And I think I have a package coming, guys, so I'm gonna pull out my water bottle just for the dogs. We're gonna probably go freaking out here in a second. Let me just bring out some of those. Jax, it's okay. It's okay, buddy. He hates packages, guys. He really does. Spray bottle, buddy. And then I'm going to, again, take that alpha. And I might go to the vein brush, and then I'm going to use this to break up some of the skin a little bit. Because again, spray bottle, Dex. All right, he's doing good. So there you go. He's a Jax, come here, buddy. He really hates packages. Thank you, Cheshire. I appreciate it. How's it going, Min? Thanks for coming back. Which brush is best for human characters? There's so many. It's not just one general brush is gonna give you the best for like a human or you know. That's why I showed you guys, like, I just do standard, move, trim dynamic, pinch, clay, and then in flat and dam standard. I try to keep it to make it easy for you guys to kind of pick up and not really worry about brushes or what do I need to do. You know, I need to have this specific thing to do this character. Just take the general brushes and that you feel comfortable with and just go them in. That should help. Just tell me more about texture and the role of bitmaps for sending to 3ds Dynamax. Well, like right now I'm using Polypaint, and I'm going to have the Polypaint on my high poly. What I'll do is, if I'm going to use this for to get my details off to a low poly character, then I'll just export this OBJ as is, and then bring it into a program. You could also do baking with normal maps and stuff down here. I have a tendency to use Substance Painter for games, and then you just bring in the high poly, you bring in your low poly with UVs set to it, and then you just allow that program to cast that information to it. So that's how I go about my process. It's a quick generalization of it, but that's how it goes. That's how I do it. So, okay, so now I have those. I'm going to knock back my things right here. I'm going to grab some of the colors that I was creating on here, and I'm just going to knock this back even more. I'm going to dirty it up. I don't want to see too much of it, and I want to bring in the details that I want from it. Okay. So I'm kind of trying to create like there's an AO from it, and I'm going to do those details. So let me do this to the bottom side of the jaw, the teeth, and then let me do it from here. And these little guys. This right here got pulled out when I was moving the jaw. I missed it. So I've just switched to my move brush and just kind of brought that back. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Hey, Steph. Yeah, right now I'm only streaming through ZBrush. I haven't really done this that much, to be quite honest. I've been slowly kind of building up, like doing this just for fun. So I do plan on doing more of these, but I'll probably just be doing it through ZBrush for a little bit, and then bring it into my website that people can watch as well. And then if I have time, I do pick certain students to bring on and mentor. I've taught one-on-one mentorships for quite a bit to help out if you guys are curious about that. So, because there's a lot to go through in the process of all this. So, okay, okay, so I'm making this really dark, even more than I did before. I'm cooling it down just a little bit. And I definitely want to do this to the neck. The neck is just, that color is just popping out too much. So I'm going to just take that down. And I'm going to use that elephant skin to blend a little bit better on those areas. Okay. Renum, I would like to. I mean, taking it to Photoshop and going through those techniques. You know, if I ever do like the streaming on my own, then I can actually jump into a little bit. But for this one, they would like us to kind of keep into the ZBrush to show the power of ZBrush, which is powerful as hell. So, so maybe down the line I'll be able to do that and show you the full process there. Creating, I mean, there's a lot of great character guys that kind of show the full process, and it takes a long time to. Sometimes, depending on the character, it takes like a month, whatever, to get some of those suckers out because there's so much techniques, and poly count now is getting through the roof if we're talking about the latest games. So it takes a lot of times, and there's so many people that are better than I am at rendering. Actually, I've if you look through my old work and stuff like that, I have a tendency that I stayed away from color. I never enjoyed it because it was just so difficult for me. So this is part of my attempt to learn more, push myself into the areas that, because I've told people for years kind of just, you know, if you're weak at it, try it. Of course, it's a lot easier to tell somebody to do something than your own self sometimes, but I'm trying. Okay. So he's getting there. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some more hand drawing into this, turn off my alphas, and I'm going to go even higher. So I'm going to draw on some lines and details that I don't have on my sculpture, but I might want to, just because it's not necessarily like these folds, I didn't put in all these folds and everything, I'm going to just kind of define those out a little bit more. To lead the eye, show some of the detail that I might not have gotten. Like I don't have any kind of detail going that way, but I just might want to add, or I might want to turn this fold back, and you know. So just because it's not a sculpture doesn't mean you can't add in color. And if it's something that you need to go back into your sculpture and add, then all you have to do is just follow the color lines where you're picking it up. So let me highlight this a little bit. Some of my veinage. And then if I'm going to hold down shift, I'm just going to blend out not the sculpt detail, but just the color detail that I was trying to get out. Steph, are you talking about signing up for like mentorship kind of stuff? I mean, the group, the Grimm guys and I, James Kane, Martin Verhoeven, and I, we were talking about getting if we had enough interest to actually just have a whole bunch of students and just kind of go through all our processes. So because we're each in a different ability, James is more towards the kits, you know, miniatures kind of stuff, and Martin's does a lot of like the monsters and you know, movie stuff, and I'm more towards the games. So we were just talking about just building up enough to kind of help, because sometimes it gets difficult to do one-on-one, but you can just contact me through my, you know, bsparky6@yahoo.com, through my website, or you can even drop us a line through Grimm at some point in time and just see how much interest there is. So, because I've been doing this for about 20 years coming up pretty soon, and I love to help out. When I first got in the industry, there wasn't a lot of help. It was I learned a lot of bad habits, and that's why I kind of like decided to teach, because it's, one, I want to help out, but I also like the fact that having people come into your industry that don't quite know what they're doing, and it can really, you know, it's not fair to them, and it's not easy on us either. So, although I get a lot of work as a freelance artist cleaning up somebody else's mess, so I guess I should keep a few people. I just won't teach them out there that don't know what they're doing. So yeah, it's like, it's but no, I mean, just drop me a line anytime. I'm happy to help you guys. That's why I've decided to do this as well. Where can I find your YT? Yeah, you can see in the little chat, you can actually see all my information. and the things I'm selling on the one side, and then Grim is on the little black buttons that are animating up in the corner. That's all my information that you should be able to kind of grab and drop me a line. And if not, there should be, I think, through the ZBrushLIVE as well. But bbrightly.com, you can connect through me as well there too. So I have quite a few options. So all I'm doing now, guys, is I'm still kind of playing out with those highlights. And again, if it ever gets too, too high in the value, if it's kind of right in your face too much, then that's where you just go back and just use some kind of alpha to kind of push back that blends in the colors back. So you're kind of, that's what I'm looking for. I'm kind of trying to bring out certain areas of detail, and then I need to kind of push back if I get to pushing that detail too much. Just simply just blend and push back. So that's how I have a tendency to do it. Okay, so I'm going to, these lips are really dark. Usually lips are pretty similar value to the face, but it's like a different color. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to go over to the pink-ish red, and I'm going to kind of somehow when I did that, turned on my, oh, I switched over to clay accidentally. So let's go a little bit more. Okay. Okay, that's almost kind of starting to look like it's gums, which is, it might be a happy accident, kind of like it's just really pulling back, or if I want to sit there and go, no, I want to not quite do that. Okay, let's go back just a little bit. So, starting out, sorry, I'm trying to catch up. Chappie, you just, it's a lot of hours, and it's that's the, don't give up. If you guys are honestly just drawing for like a couple hours a day, then that's, yeah, I'm afraid, I'm going to be blunt, it's not going to be successful. So, I mean, I work, I'm doing about 16-hour days, 7 days a week, because I got different, different things that I'm doing, and I'm just drawing for fun, you know what I mean? So it's, I guess I've always enjoyed it, and I've always liked doing this job, because it's actually, I mean, honestly, I'm just sitting here just watching TV and sculpting, so it's not that hard. But when you're trying to break in, you definitely have to do a lot. On what I suggest to a lot of students is that you don't try to do a style, meaning, like, for the first 5 years you don't have a style. Okay, don't worry about that. You're trying to learn technique and realism. So it's sort of like if you're if you can draw from life, you can draw anything. Like, and I see a lot of people with students, and a lot of people even in the from 2D to 3D, when they're drawing, when they're sculpting something, they're drawing like sculpting anime, all that kind of stuff, and Naruto or whatever. And the thing is, you guys got to realize is, like, well, if you can only do Naruto, that's all you can do. And if they're not hiring for Naruto, you're screwed. So, but if you can draw from life, you can draw anything. Because, like, I have a 10-year-old son, so I was like, oh, here's bleach, there's there, or whatever. I'm gonna just jump around and I can draw whatever I want for him based on that background of, well, almost draw anything. It's there's still a lot to go. Because honestly, I've been drawing to the day I die. Still getting better. But so be very aware of that. And when you're coming into the game or the movie industry, you really need to build up on your skills, anatomy, understanding realism. So what I would probably suggest for games, a lot of times I say to the students, props, hard surface props, organic hard surface props. Don't create an iPhone, create a KitchenAid blender or whatever that has a little bit more organic shapes and stuff, a little bit more difficulty. And if you do it really well, to where in your portfolio, and a lot of my students, if you look them up, I would always have them have their high poly, their low poly, and then their texture page. But on their high poly and their low poly page, I would have the picture of the prop that we're working on. So, you know, and if you couldn't tell the difference between the two, you did your job. So, so just a lot of hours and probably leading towards that. But then, of course, networking too. You know, try to meet and connect, and you know, go from there. So I'm sorry that might have been a little bit long, Chappie, but yeah, more information on normal mapping, texture. Normal mapping is just like messing with, you know, it's magic. Don't mess with it. It's just, it's cool. It definitely is really, because it is an art form to try to take something with millions of polys and, you know, make it into tens of thousands. You know, and I'm fairly good at it. Personally, I really just like sculpting, but it's not always part of the job. Okay. So let me go ahead and just do some detail on the lips, because right now they're blending in, and if you noticed, I used that color to kind of pull back into the color that I was setting back in. And then I'm going to go into do some highlights on the here, and then I might just kind of give some quick FiberMesh and pupil because it's 3 o'clock now. Yeah, I have a little bit more time, but I gotta go pretty soon. So I'm gonna go back into the lips. I'm gonna pitch up pretty high, and let's turn up this value just a little bit more. And I'm just using the alpha to kind of give me some of the lines, and then go up. Okay, and then I'm going to just blend those out a little bit. Okay. I think it's the teeth that are really bothering me. So let me go ahead and, because I don't, they're looking odd. So let me go ahead and just pull these back a little bit, and then I'm going to turn off this, just pitch, get some colors in here. 5 million RGB, there we go. I'm just kind of giving some highlights to some of this section and this teeth. Okay. And I sort of have like a purple, higher purple pink into it to kind of blend it all together. And I'm just kind of crackling up some of this, just like I was doing with the other ones, just to add a little bit of detail. And then I'm going to kind of fade it back in, and maybe probably even give it like a little bit of break up in the, you know, just slapping back and forth to make it look like it's bone, it's old. Maybe not down there. And I'm going to go even really higher, and I'm just kind of doing like a super highlight. I went down to like a 1 or 2 pixel, and I'm just using that highlight to really pop out specific edges in the corners. Do a couple scratches on that edge. Okay, so that's a little bit better. That's awesome to hear, Steph. Sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, the game industry is, you know, it's fun, but it can be kind of a lot to learn and hectic and to kind of keep up. And the tech is kind of it's all over the place. I mean, you can do like with VR, and you can do, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can do. So, because I used to say it's like when I worked on the more like Age of Empires and that kind of stuff, they were always, you know, like low poly and everything's going to go away, and then of course, you know, it comes back and you have the VR and you have games on the phones now, and you know, that just are pretty much like what you were playing in a PC years ago. So it's always there. Okay. So that's working fairly well. Okay, what are we doing at 3:05? Okay, so let me go ahead and save this. And I do plan, guys, to go back on these projects and kind of try to update them when I have time and stuff. So just to see what I get. I'm going to do one more pass on. I'm going to bring in some blue. It's a little bit too pink, so I want to... There we go. And so that blue, that white is now kind of, I've got the mixture of the fact that he's got all the purples and those pinks and stuff that's kind of building up. And by bringing in some of these like high white, it kind of, one, I'm going towards the strain, was kind of my, you know, thought like I want to do a strain vampire-esque kind of stuff. It was an idea. And even though I've added a few things, I did, like I said, the predator jaw and a couple other things. But so this will allow me to, this color is going to start and bring the really cool color details they had in, you know, the characters there. So, and that's just, like, you know, because they built up the purples and the blues and kept to that to make it more, I mean, that's how a lot of the vampires look. They're kind of, I don't want to say lizard-like, but we're just kind of like cold-blooded, and they can't survive, and, you know, the heat, and so that's where they're going. Okay, so I want to bring up some of, I'm blending out these, I'm kind of, this was getting lost in the mouth a little bit, so I want to kind of bring that back to separate out those lips a little bit more. Okay. And if I need to push that back again, I'm just going to grab a corresponding color to the area that I want. Like if I want something darker, I'm going to find my darks, because I've built up my layers just quite a bit, so then that way I can kind of, you know, I can even grab this eye if I, oops, I want to go a little bit darker, and then that way I can kind of push this back into the mouth a little bit. Okay. If I've gotten a little bit too extreme on those things. So, all right. So, just saving again while I read. Imperial, the problem with like a bunch of monsters is it's character guys are like the lead singers in the bands. Everybody wants to be that pretty much. And the problem is the competition is severe as hell. And the amount of character artists on a team or project and stuff is very limited. So like in games, when we were working on Rage, we had like 20 environment guys, and there was 2 character guys that we were towards the end. You know what I mean? So it kind of, you're limiting your options, and it's not, I mean, if you want to be a character artist, of course, go do whatever you guys want. But the problem is like when you're trying to break into the industry, you're limiting your sources of available income, because you're kind of like saying, I only want to do this, and if they don't need a character artist, then you're kind of, you know, you're stuck. But environment art is really needed, because it's like, you know, I mean, you do one character and they're building a whole building, you know what I mean? So there's a lot more options. So well, I usually suggest you try to do props, because one, in a character, you're going to do hard surface props. You're going to have items. I think for one character I had like 40 little items of trinkets of hard surface, like teddy bears and license plates and crap all over the guy. And if I didn't know all that background of going through learning how to do all the hard surface and props and everything, I would have been stuck if I'm only to one area of ability. So just be aware. And when you guys go in for a portfolio, don't go in for a job for like an environment person and have nothing but characters, because, you know, they'll know what you're trying to do. You know, go in and, you know, do your job as that, but having that foot in the door will actually make it a lot easier for you to kind of slowly build, show your ability, and move on to that position. So You know, and I've had people like, oh, you're afraid that, you know, they're going to take your job. I work freelance, guys. You can try to take my job, but I'm not going to tell you where I live, so you're stuck. But no, it's just to kind of really give you guys an idea of that's pretty much, you know, it's a very just like concept. You know, I came from Disney and I came from concepting, and there were so many guys that just destroyed me. It was a very limited field. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try building up, and I wanted to go to characters, but I went through the whole process of learning everything, environments, props, drawing, you know, this, that. Like for Age of Empires, I did a whole bunch of, like, you click on a dog, there's a picture of a dog. You click on a duck, there's a duck, and I did a lot of those using my traditional ability, but still it wasn't characters. Okay, so I can't remember who asked me, but it was asking me about FiberMesh. So I'm just gonna, let's say I just want to sit there and have a little bit of hair on this guy, and I'm not talking like, you know, tons of hair, but let's just say I want to have a little bit of peach fuzz or whatever, just to kind of add. And this really, you know, be difficult to kind of, you know, for key shot it will work great, but for games and stuff I won't pick this up. But if I want to make my render a little bit, I'm going, if I go down on levels and if I hit mask, hold down control and hit click on the masking, it's going to blend out a lot faster. Again, I'm dealing with a lot less polys, so it's faster to go up and down, and that's why I like to do the levels. So I'm going to go down to mask by FiberMesh. Click on preview. Okay, and so right there I just got a preview. I'm going to, you know, I don't know if you can see it. There's a color. So if you go into modifiers, let me go ahead and do the base tip. I'm going to bring that up. So this is where you're blending in color, and the tip, I'm just going to, so whatever my FiberMesh is, okay, so that's the color. Whatever your material is going to define when you go to this. So that's, you're able to see it now. Thank you, Kenny. I appreciate it. Just see me, I kind of look at all different kind of books. If you can see in my library, I have a lot of them. And of course, I look online for a lot of inspiration as well. Okay, so max fibers right here. The first button is going to actually just reduce the amount of overall. I want to kind of make this very like he's got sparse hair, so it's almost kind of like you've barely seen it. So the max fibers is going to knock it down to where it's just a general, he's got a little bit of hair. The length profile right here, so if I take it from 100 to 200, it's just going to take it from the stem from 0 to, and the longer this goes, the longer, I mean, the shorter, less equals less, of course, more and more. Width profile, just keep it, you know, you can actually play with this to kind of change how it's going throughout the length. And I'm going to say 5 for the coverage. That is, again, is going to reduce. So if I take the coverage and turn to 70, it's going to take whatever I have enough in the max fiber meshes to just make it thicker. So if I want like a very thin piece of hair, I'm just going to go down to, like, you know, 4, and then it's going to barely be there. It's actually going to kind of lose. So I probably want to keep that to like maybe 20 on the coverage. And my scale root and scale tip, if you change the root or the tip, that's going to just make it to a triangle, you know what I mean, or just a flat square. Twist, that's just where it's on the object itself, it's twisting. Gravity, this is where up or down. So if I change the gravity, you know, to a negative, it's going up in air. If I give it heavy gravity, it's going to flop over top of, like, it's sort of there, which is, that's not bad. It's sort of, it's there enough. But and then the profile, this is how, right now it's just 1. If I turn it to 4, I think it's just going to make it, skip the note, it's make it into a cube. And then of course the segments, not 6, I mean 60, let's do 6. So, and as you see right there, because I added more curvature, it kind of started flopping over. So that's the gravity. The more bends, you know, you, like if it's just 1, it's going to be a straight line. If I start adding 2 or 3, then it's going to start to bend depending on the gravity. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce that gravity to start bringing those up. Okay, so then he's kind of like, you know, he's got a little bit of hair there. Now if I Again, if I want to kind of change his coverage to, he's got a lot thicker, whatever ones, then I can take that out, or I can just play with this coverage down to kind of just barely be there. And I probably want to go to my length, and I barely want to, you know, be there. Or if I want him to have a full head of hair, you know, I could just knock that up to where he's got, you know, a whole bunch. So you can play with it and just once you get something you like, then just go ahead and just hit accept. Where you at? Right there. And that will take all that information. So if I say I want, oops, yeah, it should be max fibers. Weird. Okay, there we go. I was trying to update. So if I'm happy with that, I'm just going to hit accept, and then you'll see right there, it'll just go and give you that little section right here. If you turn that off, or then if I have the color, if I want to darken it down, then I can just go ahead and, now that it's an object, I can go ahead and just hit color onto it, and then, so there we go. If I want just a little bit of detail, if you guys can see it, it's there. Right now it's at 28,000, so if I go ahead and just divide it, then you can actually see it starts to divide just like it would. And then there's, you can use the move brush to kind of push that around, you know, make it super long off of it. Okay, so there's that. On the iris, where are we at? 315. Okay, I'm not going to do a quick iris. I think I am good otherwise. On the eyeballs, the Creo experience with people that use Blender in the game industry. No professionals that I know of use Blender. It's more of a just a mod people, or just, you know, playing with it. It's going to be 3D Studio Max, Modo, Maya, and that kind of stuff that you'll probably more likely to find. So depending what kind of coast side, I would say you might want to kind of just figure it out. More East Coast is towards Max kind of stuff. Animators and West Coast are more towards Maya. Modo is a phenomenal program as well. So the first thing I want to do on this one, the eyeballs, I actually put a material on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just go back to material. I'm going to choose toy plastic because we're going to add material to it. I have material on this, and I have it at 100. Go to color, and I'm just going to say fill object just to get back that color. And now if I still want to sit there and make this guy to where he does still have a dark eye, because you see right there, there's my toy plastic. So usually when I'm doing eyeballs or whatever, I kind of give the material to where it has a little bit of, you see the high spec. You can fake in some specs if you want to. But I'm going to go back to my RGB, and I'm going to pick like a dark color. And again, I like to borrow from the surrounding flesh tone. So it's almost kind of like, you know, you're picking up some of that detail. It has some of the warmth to this. You can pull into it, and maybe he has a little bit of, so if he's going to have a white eye, you know, and I'm bringing a little bit of that color. So as you can see right there, I'm just blending that eye back into the socket, and again, I'm picking up, I'm just using C to kind of grab to blend back out. Okay, and then let's say if I want to, depending on the iris, like again, you can do the regular dot, and then, oh, he's that kind of monster or human, or, you know, snake or frog. I mean, all the different pupils or the different things will actually change the character and how he's going to be. If I kind of want to go back to where he is more of a dark eye, to where he's just kind of going to blend that back in, just like I did with that one material, but now I have a little more control where I might actually still be able to make it a little bit darker, so his pupils are just a little bit more overall dark. And then I can kind of go in there and say, you know, I want to kind of maybe give him just a slight little slit for his eye section, and you can probably go back to a different color and bring out some highlights, or again, I mean, if I want to bring in a few, so just paint it in real quickly. And again, if I have the two things a little bit too harsh, I could just blend. So what I'm doing is I'm just holding down shift and I'm just blending, okay, and that will help. So, and then if I want to sit there and do another fake, you know, I hit, you can do that. So, you know, it's kind of depends what kind of character you want to do, what kind of, you know, creature you want this to be. Because just like I said, when you're developing the eyes and sculpting, it really changes the mood of the character. Are they smart? Are they mean? Are they happy? Are they sad? I mean, it's just like there's a lot you can tell within the iris and stuff. Are they alien? Or are they normal? So you got to double check it. Wheel the Art, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Actor. I appreciate it. Which one of the active options in the pen, which, with the help of your hands, will increase its power? Oh, I'm just hitting S, and then I can actually just increase the size of the brush. Spacebar will actually bring up, and you can have this little floating window where you can actually, the intensity, the RGB intensity I'm painting, the higher this goes, the more intense that is going to be. Z intensity is going to be more for the sculpt. So I'm going to go back to this. I actually kind of, I want to blend that out a little bit, just a little subtle, but I sort of have it faded, so maybe he's got kind of like a slightly glossed eye, and I'm going to probably highlight that just a little bit more. So I want to just slightly bring in some of that detail up. Okay. So there we go. Now again, if I just take out that little line, you know, that just makes him look a little bit more mean. And if I darken that down even more, so I mean, this is where you can kind of just play with, because even though I have that in there, I'm going to, and it's pretty dark, I could always just set like a different, like a shadow. So you see that little fake ambient occlusion shadow that I'm putting in there, it really sets into the eye a little bit. And then I'm going to actually probably darken, oops, got to take off that mask. I'm going to darken that eyeball corner just a little bit to help. Okay. So guys, I think this is where I will call it a day. I've got to go pick up my little guy. So, you know, I could play with this just a little bit more, keep tweaking things if I want. Actually, before I do, I'm just going to do one thing. I want to kind of bring this more into the red. Okay, just so. So, I think we will call this a day as is, unless there's any kind of like major questions. And there's some things I like about this guy, and there's some things I think, again, I could go back on and be a little bit more successful. But, you know, for like a couple hours, I'm playing around, I see ideas, I see things I like, see things I don't think are successful, but I had fun, and I learned turning off local symmetry while I'm trying to mirror, so it doesn't snap into it. So, so there we go. So that helps me. So I appreciate it, guys. I will be doing this again every Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time. I'm not too sure what time you're at, but you know, please like the videos. Please stop into the other ones that I've done, and I appreciate the visits to the sites of both mine and the guys for Grimm. And thanks for joining. So drop me a line anytime if you have any questions. Okay, thanks guys. Have a good one.